Good morning, John and Mary.
Good morning.
This is your life.
Oh dear.
Mary, can you tell me a little bit about what your wedding dress was like?
Oh, it was it was quite straight lines, and it had a veil, and quite ordinary.
And John, can you tell me a little bit about the wedding day itself?
It was like all weddings. I was waiting at the altar and waiting, and then she came about 5 minutes late. I think you were 5 minutes late, weren't you?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the wedding went through as usual, and then we went across to the church hall and had a wedding breakfast there.
Bit of controversy because we had drink, and it was a church, and we shouldn't have had drink.
Shouldn't have been drink on the table at the church.
Well,
The Presbyterians didn't like it.
Smacked on the hand for that.
So otherwise, there was nothing very exciting happened. Just the usual wedding celebrations and so forth.
Mm-hmm. And Mary, how did you enjoy the day?
I was very nervous, and John's brother was laughing at me because all my flowers are shaking, and he thought it was because he was John's
Best man.
Best man.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a bit nervous. It was quite a cool morning though, of course. So I'll put it up not to nervous to a cool morning.
Oh,
Well, that sounds like quite a ceremony. John, looking back to when you started school, can you tell us a little bit about your early times there?
yes, I can remember starting school. It was in Morrinsville at David Street School. I gave somebody a blood nose the first day because he called me Scotchy. So I believe, I don't actually remember that part, but I was told after I'd given, and he was a Scotsman's son, so I don't know why he was picking on me, but never mind. We used to go down in a horse and buggy, and one day we were going to school, we met a car coming the other way, and the horse shied and put the buggy wheel under the buggy and tipped us all into a water dam. And we missed a day at school. It was a good thing. I wouldn't mind it happening every day. Yeah. But then I went on to Walton School and I finished there, and I left school when I was 11 years old.
And Mary, can you tell us a little bit about your school days?
I was very happy at school. I really enjoyed school, and I was always had in the back of my mind there was a Colin Williamson there, and I was always wanted to. Yes, I must try and beat him. You know, I want to get better marks than him always, and I did as it happened, but never mind. And talking about school, when I was in 1933, I became Dux of the School. Got a lovely book given to me for the Dux of the School, and like a good girl, I lent it out to my friend to read as she lent me mine, but I never got it back, and I didn't realise that she was jealous of me, and she did away with my lovely book that had Dux of the School in it, and I was very disappointed about that. Never mind, these things happen.
That must have been quite a loss. Can you tell us a little bit about what your school was actually like, Mary?
Oh, it was a very small school. We just had from Primus to Standard 6 all in one room, and actually I did fairly well at school, and I used to have to ask to teach the children, the Primmers, give them their lessons because I could, and I never had to learn my spelling, and I always remember the teacher saying, "Mary, you didn't learn your spelling today," and I said, "No." He said, "You've got the wrong." What was the word? There. I put wrong there because I had a list and I didn't know which one it was, and I picked the wrong one. So I didn't get my 25. I only got 24 out of 25 that day. So, but it always happened that way. The ones that the teacher used to get the older ones to help with the young ones because it's very hard teaching Primus to Standard 6 and only one teacher all in the one room. It's very hard.
Yes. And can you tell us about your teenage years, once you got beyond the primary school level?
Well, actually, I mentioned that we used to go down in the factory and I used to have my little brothers on my knee, and we used to go down to the factory every morning when Uncle Bob took the milk down. And how one particular morning, my brother Tom was supposed to hold the brake on hard because we had two flighty horses on that day. They were very fast horses. And anyway, the factory whistle blew and the horses took off. And they were tearing down the road flat out, and anyhow I could see this fellow running across the paddock, and he ran and he jumped the fence and he got in front of the horses and stopped them. Well, goodness no, some of us were bound to be killed. We could never have survived if it hadn't been for that man jumping the fence and stopping the horses. But it was quite dramatic, really.
Things were certainly very different back then, weren't they?
Oh yes, that's right. Yes.
And John, was there anything that you particularly remember from your teenage years?
Oh, well, my brother and I started shelving for the father on the Walton farm when we were, I was 15, he was 16. And we had to cook our own meals. We were milking 80 cows. In those days, it was hand stripping. It wasn't machine milking like we do today, but it was hand milking. We had 250 ewes to look after, and we had a lot of pigs on the place. So we were kept pretty busy. We got 1/3 of the dairy check, half the pigs, but got nothing out of the sheep. We just had to look after the sheep and so forth. But we used to get up at 3 in the morning, and we were lucky to get to bed by 9 at night. By the time you'd done the dishes and so forth after cooking a meal and so forth, we were in bed by 9. So we didn't have time to get into mischief or anything of that sort. No time for dope or... But, not good, healthy life.
Yes. And Mary, after you were married, what were some of the different places that you lived in, and what was life like in the houses back in those days?
We had a wooden house, and we couldn't afford carpets, so we just put down as cheap flooring as possible, and curtains. We just used one strip of curtain to save money. We were trying all the time. We were saving for our own farm. So and I made I even made John's pyjamas, trousers, shorts, everything like that to try and save money. And eventually we saved enough to put down on our farm at Waitoa, wasn't it? Waitoa. We had £900, and that gave us a
freehold title.
Yeah, that's right.
With a mortgage.
No, that's right. And the other three people at farm at the same time as us, they only paid £300 down, and they had to pay.
They had leaseholds.
Leasehold, and they had quite a lot of money to pay at the finish to get their farm as their own. So they had quite a lot extra, but getting ours done that way, we were far better off doing that.
And John, what was it like farming back in those days? And how did that ballot system work that you went through to acquire the farm at Waitoa?
Well, the ballot system was, they set out a list of farms. They're all over the Waikato, as far as I was concerned, down Nakura, furthest down, and I think they went up as far as Pukoi. And you could put your name in, pick out the farm you wanted and put your name in, and then they had a draw in the drill hall in Hamilton. I think it was every 4 months or so, wasn't it?
That's right.
That's from memory. We were very conscientious when we first started. We went and looked at farms and picked out what we thought was the best farm and this sort of thing. But after months of struggling and doing this, we gave that up and just put in for everything.
Why didn't people just buy their farms in the same way they do these days?
Well, land was confiscated for returned servicemen. Large landowners, like the one we got, belonged to a family called Priest and Priest, and they had several farms in the district. They had a large farm in Taranaki, and they confiscated the Waitoa area and split it into 4 farms, but they still let them one in Waitoa, and land was in demand, and you just couldn't buy a farm. If the government saw a farm for sale, they would try and buy it for return service and then ballot it.
So we didn't have a hope getting one ourselves.
You couldn't just go out and buy a farm.
No.
And if you did, you had a bigger problem of collecting money from the state advances because they hadn't gone through the ballot system, you see. But land was in demand because so many people coming back wanting land, and a lot of people, landowners, had bought up farm and were making a good thing out of it. Well, not you can blame them for that, but somebody had to farm it.
Moving back to the time before the war years, Mary, can you tell us a little bit about how conditions at the time affected the romance between you and John?
Oh, it was very, very hard because we only saw each other when John was on leave, and it was very hard. But, you just had to live through those days. And the 2 years John was away, well, it was very hard because wondering whether he's going to come back all in one piece or whether he's going to come back at all those worries.